Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening from, and welcome back to another episode of Chat with Chaps. This is the opposition view, where we listen to a fan of the opposition team of the game coming up and get their thoughts on all the things going on in and around their club to get that insight. And today, we welcome Dave from ohwhenthetown podcast. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for inviting me on as well. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Likewise, Dave. Likewise. Thank you very much for coming on. Listen, I'll jump straight in. I've been shocked by Luton's performance so far this season. I'm just flicking up the league table. And you find yourselves 23rd, 4 games played, 1 point. That point was on the road against Portsmouth. You've had losses to QPR, Burnley, and Preston. Dave, what's going on?
I wish I could put my finger on it, really. After last season, we come down full of hope and thinking we've got a really nice squad here now. We didn't, we lost Ross Barkley. That was always going to happen. And Nakamba and Lokonga. And at the time, you didn't realise how good they were for our midfield. I think we're missing a bit of the midfield. I can't really put my finger on it. Of course, we've still got Nakamba because he's injured and he's not back from injury yet. But the thing is that when we started full of optimism and then we took that beating by Burnley, which was a bit of a shock, really. Didn't think they would do that to us, but we were just off the pace. Portsmouth away, thought was very unlucky. 10 men most of the game. We played really well. We didn't take our chances. Our front two are not shooting. They're not scoring enough, in fact, at all. And then Queen's Park Rangers the other week. And what was the other one? Preston. It's all quite depressing, really, because we've not been playing bad football. We've just not been finishing it off. So we've had a couple of games where we've been creating stuff but not scoring, and controlling the game and not scoring. At Preston, there's no way we should have lost at Preston. We played really well. And we get done with 2 really scrappy goals. Queen's Park Rangers the other night, when we played them pre the break, I think Queen's Park Rangers, give them their dues, they played okay, but we gave them 2 sloppy goals. With 2 sloppy defending goals. So I think all of us are a bit dismayed about how the team are performing right now. I can't put my one finger on it, but obviously when your front two aren't scoring, the 2 that did actually score more than we thought they would in the Premier League last season, and they're not knocking them in, and they're not taking the chances. Again, if I go back to Queen's Park Rangers, we were 1-0 up. Elijah Adebayo had a chance to make it 2-0, and in any other game of the week in last season, he'd have popped it in. This season, didn't go in. A great save by the Queen's Park Rangers goalkeeper, of course, but you don't take your chances. You don't do it, and then it just doesn't feel the same as it did last year. At the moment, it just doesn't. And I'm hoping the international break has given us a chance to regroup, and we'll come out all guns blazing at the weekend. So that's my hope. But you're right. We're all pulling our hair out because we don't understand how we've gone from a fairly decent team that were running, toe to toe with top clubs last season, to, all granted we didn't win them, all of them, but we gave it a really good go to this season. It just hasn't clicked yet. But I would also say, if you don't mind me rambling on just a little bit more,
Go for it, mate.
It's only 4 games, so there's enough time. If we was having this conversation 10 games in. Because I was convinced that we wouldn't be in a relegation struggle or anything like that. But if we're having this conversation 10 games in, then I would be worried. But at the moment, I'm going to trust the process and hope that the international breaks helped us.
Yeah, and it'll be sod's law for us that everything clicks on Saturday. So I for one, hope that's not the case. But yeah, it's a bit bemusing. I think when I look at some of the players you've lost over the summer, I think you've lost key first team players. You touched on a few there. Ogbene quite recently as well.
Yeah.
Townsend. So there are some key players you've lost, but then you brought in the likes of Mark McGuinness. Big money signing for for the Championship, rumoured to be around £10 million. And then just today signed Victor Moses on loan. So tell us a little bit more about your recruitment. And obviously, I'm more interested in the players that you brought in than the ones that you've lost.
It's difficult to judge some of them because one of them, Kraus, has come in from Germany. He hasn't played yet. I don't know how fit he is. McGuinness, I do like him. The other night, he looked really strong. Typical centre half almost for me. He was on it for most of the game. Sometimes though, he's finding his feet, I think, and I think maybe a little bit slow at times. But McGuinness, really pleased with him. You said the loss of Ogbenny, that came out of the blue, didn't it?
Yeah,
disappointing. Victor Moses, that's come out of nowhere as well, hasn't it? Maybe they're looking at players like that and saying, look what we did last season when Ross Barkley, and we sort of almost single-handedly resurrected his career in the UK. We've taken some good loan signings in the past, but for me, the standout one, McGuinness. We got your guy from, do you know what? His name has slipped my mind now, which is kind of disappointing, isn't it?
Go on, who? What position?
Swansea. The guy we brought in from Swansea, whose name
is it Walsh?
Oh yeah, Liam Walsh. Yeah, he's a different type of player, but he's like a good midfielder that we needed. And so I don't think that. And Raoul Waters from Arsenal, superb. He's only going to get better with us. I think he's one of those players that is very strong on the ball. He's very quick, and he's got a bit of a brain on him. So I think they're our best ones. I'm looking forward to seeing Kraus. I don't know too much about him, and I don't even know if he's fit. You buy someone for Luton Town to spend even more than £1 million on a player is amazing. Last season breaking the transfer window 4 or 5 times, and this season, blasting it again. We've never paid this much money for players. You expect him to be a little bit better, don't you? I think. But yeah. Waters, love him, and he'll be one to watch out for at the Den.
Interesting. Yeah, and obviously you had Shandon Baptiste that you brought in as well. I mean, one of the things...
Shandon is really good. And without him this season, I don't think we'd have scored because he was the feeder for both our goals that we've scored this season. His crossing was sublime. So I forgot about him. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
You've had a lot of player change, mate. You've had a lot of player change. I think I did a show in the week with Benjamin Bloom, who covers all of the Championship. And one of the things that he said, although he did say he was very shocked as much as anyone, and he does expect you to come good eventually, he did say that, and this is where I think we're similar clubs in this regard, that some clubs are just better at being the underdog. And when you're not, and you are expected to win games now based on the fact you've been in the Premier League, you spent £10 million on a centre half. I'd imagine you're paying Victor Moses 20 grand a week plus, otherwise he wouldn't be there. Maybe, do you think that could be an element, the sort of element of expectation, perhaps?
Expectations from the fans, maybe. Expectations from the club itself, that their aim is to get back into that league. Because it literally saved us, didn't it, getting up there? And now you've tasted it, you really want to go back and enjoy it a little bit more. I think expectations are high from fans, from chairman, from manager, from players. The players believe they can get back there. I don't doubt they're trying. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that they're not good enough. Of course they're good enough. I just think, I suppose these first few games, if you think about it, when you're playing with 10 men, at Portsmouth we should have won. And we had 10 men. We should have won. But we held on for the second half. It was for 10 men for quite a long time. And I think, the expectation was that, to coin a phrase that Gary Sweet himself used once, no more Bobby Big Bollocks or whatever he said. And that's, I think, some of our fans have been, and some of our expectations are a lot higher than they've ever been before, because of the squad and because of the money we've spent. So, I think it hit the nail on the head. I would much rather go into, because like every game last season, we weren't expected to win it. Every single game. And to be fair, we didn't win that many, did we? But it was we gave some teams a really good game. We just haven't clicked. if Morris and Adebayo click and score, then I expect that we'll be getting ourselves up to the top of the end of the league. And it doesn't help when your nearest rivals have had the best start of the season they've had for a while, does it? It doesn't help at all.
Well, they beat us, mate. They beat us. But we'll talk a bit about Millwall in a second. I just want to cover one more point off with you regarding your start. I'm going to flick something up on screen. So this is a stat that was released, I think, just today around key passes in the Championship, and we both have one each on there, joint fourth. So a player that I do believe is a Millwall fan, Alfie Doughty, 10 key passes, joint with George Honeyman, who I think Millwall fans listening to this would be very surprised to see George Honeyman there, because that's not really his game. So how has Alfie Doughty started the season? I'll be honest, he was one player that I was certain a Premier League club would pick him up, and they haven't.
Yeah, we're surprised we've managed to keep as many as we have. Alfie is a great player. He's very, very quick. His passing, his delivery has been good. Some of his corners this season have been a little bit off, but mostly I would say he's on the same sort of form as he was last year, almost. Some people complain that, when you're having an off day, like when you're having a game where it's not going well for you, and then he steps up and he doesn't deliver that free kick just as good as we've seen in the past, and then they get on his back a little. I don't think that's fair criticism. Normally his delivery of free kicks and set pieces is immense, and he works really hard. So, I mean, yeah, I can see why he's in that list. Because actually he's a decent player. And you're right, I can't believe he's not left the club. But, if we continue down this stream, maybe in January he'll be off. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you what, on Saturday will be a really interesting battle of Alfie Doughty versus Ryan Leonard. You may not know much about Ryan Leonard, and I can forgive you for that, but he's a central midfielder converted to a right back, and I'd be interesting to get your thoughts after the game, Dave, because genuinely, I think he's the best one-on-one defender in the league, and that's a bold statement. But he's that good. He was our player of the season last season, so that will be a really interesting battle on Saturday. I do want to just ask you a bit about a player that's played for both clubs in recent times. And I believe just today he signed for Wickham. And this is Fred Onyedinma. Bizarre, really. Started his career out of Millwall, highly rated, thrust into the first team picture, and then just sort of dwindled out of it. And I think there was a little bit of not really clicking with the fans for various different reasons. He then obviously went to Wickham, ended up with yourselves, and then sort of been out on loan and things. And then I see him playing against Man City at the Etihad. Of course, I know you had a lot of injury issues at that time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden now he's back at Wickham. But would love to get your point of view on Fred Onyedinma.
I don't think he got enough time with us. Match time with us, to be fair. When he first arrived, he was quick, and I thought he was a decent player. I thought, if we give this guy a little bit of chance, a little bit of time, he'll be a player that we need. But I think the club grew up a little bit too quick for him, if I'm honest. So when he first joined us, obviously we were in Championship, but just the very first couple of seasons in there. And I just think we just grew out of him, if that makes sense. He wasn't performing he wasn't getting in the team as much. And you're right, he came in to play in the Premier League because our team was devastated with injuries. He did quite well. But I just think sometimes the club needs to give someone an opportunity to go on with their career, and he wasn't going to get game time with us. So when he played, he was okay. When he played well, he was brilliant. But when he didn't play, when he went missing, you know what I mean? So there were some games where...
there was definitely an element of that with Fred.
Yeah, so he goes sort of missing, and then you go, well, can we take this player out? Is he a luxury? Does he just come on for 20 minutes at the end? And, last season when he had his chance, I was quite surprised we ever saw him play in the Premier League, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So, I was not sad to see him go, but, I think the club just outgrew him. I think the club's circumstances changed, as it does with a lot of players. And it changes because we had that sudden influx of money and we were moving up the leagues. And I think, they feel they can get better players in. So, back to him back at Wickham. I'm sure Wickham are quite happy to have him back.
Oh, definitely in League One. I think they're in 100%. And sorry, I've got to ask you about another player because Millwall fans will be killing me if I don't. And that's Alan Campbell. So let me tell you where I'm coming at from Alan Campbell.
Okay.
Looking at it from so we tried to buy him when you did from Scotland.
Yeah.
He came to you, and on paper and based on performances against us, you could not have got more of a Millwall type player. Someone that gave their all, was aggressive,
Yeah.
plenty of running in him, tackles, seemed like a decent guy off the pitch. Tom Lockyer on comment saying that he's the best trainer the club's that he's ever seen. So when we signed him on loan last season, I was like, this is dynamite here. This is fantastic. And I can't tell you how underwhelming it was. He, under several managers, he just never got a look in. It was so bizarre. It was if something was going on behind the scenes. I'm fairly reliably told that's not the case. And it just didn't work out. And I'm scratching my head. And now he's on loan at our rivals Charlton, obviously back with Nathan Jones. But yeah, what's your view on Alan Campbell?
I loved it. Well, to be fair, he came with a big fanfare when he first turned up. And he came on and I thought, well, what's that about? Because I didn't think he performed that well to begin with. But then he got on it, and I loved him. I thought he was very tenacious. You're right. He is a proper footballer. He is, like, say, I could see him playing for you guys. And he was in there. He wasn't afraid of nothing. He was biting at people's legs all the time. His tackling was pretty decent. And I thought, we've got a right good player here. And then suddenly, he just went out of favour. Now, I think after Nathan left, Rob Edwards came in. And I don't think Rob Edwards really played him, maybe once or twice. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. He was in the playoff final, I think, as well. I don't understand how his career went that way. To be honest, I don't understand it. And I was gutted when he left. I thought we're letting a great player go here, and we're letting him go to Millwall, which was like, one of those things where I wouldn't have expected us to let him go there. But, at the end of the day, as I say, you can't stop a player's career. But I'm disappointed he hasn't made it anywhere at the moment. I actually really liked him. I was disappointed that he left us, but I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't fit in with our manager's strategies. I don't understand how you can be, when he was in Scotland, everyone thought he was the next best thing that's come along in Scotland. When he comes to Luton, everybody's going, you've got a great player there. He's really good. He's really this, he's that. And he's a brilliant footballer. And he played in some really critical games for us. And then he just falls out of favour. And we don't know what goes on in the training ground. We don't know what the manager's looking for in there or tactically. He just didn't fit us anymore. But I was surprised that he didn't absolutely perform brilliantly at Millwall. Very surprised.
Yeah,
you're right. He is a Millwall player. He's a typical Millwall player, I think. Yeah, he's aggressive enough. He was. Again, why he didn't get so much game time, or he didn't play as well as he could have done, and maybe just a bit too high from where he was before. I don't know, but I wish him well at Charlton. I'm sure he'll do well there. And, maybe he just fits in with Nathan Jones and the rest of the Luton players that have gone there. So
your Luton B team.
Well, them and Barnsley have got a lot of connection with us at the moment. So
yeah,
it's weird. It's so weird because I'm sure you agree. You can see he's a good player. I don't understand how. I genuinely don't understand how he doesn't stand out. I don't understand it. When he was playing for Luton, I don't think he ever shirked it. I always thought he'd give 100%. I always thought that he was doing his all to be the best he could, and just disappointing.
Yeah, it's baffling. But let's see what he does at Charlton. I certainly don't wish him well for obvious reasons. Right, let's switch gears then, Dave, to Saturday. So big game at the Den. 4 games in for us, 4 points, 1 win, 2 losses and a draw. The 2 losses were against obviously Watford, where honestly, how on earth we lost that game, I will never know. And then Bristol City, where we were losing 2-0, went 3-2 up and then lost 4-3. So it's been interesting. The last two games we've been a little bit more stable, kept 2 clean sheets. No surprise that Japhet Tanganga has been back and has been rock solid with Jake Cooper in the centre of defence. But how do you see this one playing out? And, you know, what have you made of Millwall's start to the campaign?
How do I see it, or how do I want it to happen? There are two different things. I think every time our teams play, it's a difficult game. I don't care which one of us are on top of each other. You know, if we're in front of you or the other way around, it's always been a tricky fixture, I think. And, you know, 0-0s, 1-0s, 2-1s, 2-0s, and whatever else. Every time I've come to the New Den, something's gone wrong for me, I think. But I don't know. I'm not surprised about Millwall. I think, you know, slow starters maybe. I'm more surprised that Watford have had the bigger start. So just, you know, you look at your fixtures, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? 4 points out of 4. Would I be happy with that? 4 points out of 4 games. Would I be happy? Probably. It's early days. So, you know, I suppose the one that you mentioned, the Bristol City one, was probably the kick in the nuts you didn't really want on that game. How do I see the game going? I think really Luton Town have got to come out all guns blazing. I really do. I think the fans expect us, our fans expect us to come out and really take it to you and make sure that we try and get 3 points. And I think the manager needs to change the attitude of, we're all thinking doom and gloom at the moment with regards to results. So we need a really strong performance. Whether our play of playing out from the back is suited to coming up to the New Den, I don't know. But I think first goal, if we don't get the first goal, we might find it a bit tricky. And I think it'll be a very physical game as normal. It'll be very noisy, obviously, as normal. And I hope that the international break has done us a good reset, and then we can make sure that we take the game to you rather than sit back and wait for a break. So that's what I'm expecting. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I think it could be a cagey start. But I'm hoping we take it towards you, and we can ride the storm with the home fans and the home team, and maybe, you know, get a couple of goals and then sit back a little bit. But I can't say anything more than that, because our team this season have just not performed up to what they should have done. You know, and I think that's the thing. You know, we shouldn't have lost it. We shouldn't have lost at Preston. We should have won at Portsmouth. But I keep saying that Queen's Park Rangers, even in the Carabao Cup when we went up to Loftus Road, we should have put them away. We just didn't take our chances. So there's a lot of people in our team that need to prove a point. And the point is, they need to start scoring. They need to get better. So I don't think you could have played this at a worse time or a better time, really. I think it's one of those where, if we're on our game, I think we'll give you a really good game. Can we beat Millwall? Yes. Can we also lose? Of course we can. It's going to be a difficult time. I think first goal's crucial. And I think if you guys get it, then I think we'll spend quite a long time chasing it, and then we might give you another one. That's how I look at it.
Okay, then, and that's, I think, one of the biggest. We mentioned one of the battles being Alfie Doughty and Ryan Lennon, and I think the other one is obvious, which is depending on whether you play a 2 up top or a 3. I know you played 3 recently, but obviously I'm looking at Morris and Elijah Adebayo. If they click up against Jake Cooper and Japhet Tanganga, I think that's going to be a really interesting battle. But Dave, go on then. Let's finish up with your score prediction.
Oh God, I hate this bit of these things, because clearly I'm not going to say we're going to lose, even though in the back of my mind I think, you know, that might happen. So I'm going to be very optimistic, which is unlike me, and I'm going to say, you know what, I think we're going to score, which we haven't done. So tentatively, I'm going to say Millwall 0, Luton 2, and I think that's really my heart rather than my head saying that, if I'm honest.
Well, let's see what happens on Saturday, Dave. I'm going to go over 1-1 draw, and just go sit down the middle. I've got splinters on my backside, clearly. Right.
I'm desperate for the 3 points, mate. That's
yeah, we're desperate to see if we can back up the fantastic performance against Sheffield Wednesday. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And of course, the international break, has it done either of a team any good or worse? Who knows? But Dave, thank you for coming on. Just let the Millwall fans know, particularly after Saturday, where they can find you and what sort of content that you guys are putting out there.
Yeah, well, we'll be recording match reactions on Monday, and we're on YouTube at ohwhenthetown. We're on all the usual places where you can find your podcasts too, if you just listen to the audio. And we'll just be chatting about the game. There's 4 of us to sit around the table, just chat and moan about the game most of the time, and analyse what's gone on. If you're interested to come on and have a look, that'd be great. It'd be nice to get some of your thoughts on what we're saying about Millwall and the game in general.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Dave. And for any Luton fans listening to this, please do like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. As you can see, bottom left, we're doing all of this season for Cancer Research UK. So even if no one likes us, as we like to tell you, if that's the case, we still appreciate a subscription either way. So, Dave, maybe I'll see you on Saturday. Good luck for the season after that. Thanks again for coming on. Listeners, thank you for listening. And roll on Saturday at 12:30. Thanks, Guy. Bye for now.